Hello, my name is Darren Thomas and I'm the Director of Educational Research Techniques. In this video, we're going to take a look at paraphrasing for ESL students, which is something that can be really challenging as people try to wrestle with a second language. So let's see if we can get started here. Now, the thing with paraphrasing, and I'm assuming you know what paraphrasing is. If not, paraphrasing is where you take somebody else's ideal or thoughts and you rearrange them into words that are your own. Now, this is very, very challenging because you must be very, very comfortable with the second language in order to be able to do this. It takes a certain mastery of the nuances of the language that is often not something that an ESL student is able to duplicate or master, and even at times, even for native speakers, they have a difficult time paraphrasing something. Now, when we're talking about plagiarism versus paraphrasing, as you can see here on this screen, it's more of a continuum. And so what you want to avoid as a student is you want to avoid being over here, blatant plagiarism. Now, what I mean by blatant, we're talking just copy and paste. When there's copy and paste, you have little hope of any kind of mercy at all with your teacher or whatever situation you're in. However, sometimes a student will attempt to paraphrase, and it might be more in a gray area. And so what happens is that you might be accused of it, or it might look like it, but you make some sort of an effort. What we're trying to do here is, obviously, we know not to copy and paste. That's a blatant problem. But what we want to do is that we want to try to move people over here. And if you're in this gray zone where you might be accused, if you are able to explain your thought process into how you were trying to change the structure of the sentence to make it your own words, you might get the benefit of the benefit of the doubt from your respective teacher or from your respective accuser. This is the second thing. So of course we want to be over here, of course, where we're clearly paraphrasing and people agree with, when everyone agrees with us. But if we're stuck here because we're still struggling with the language or because the teacher is just being difficult, we can of course explain what we're doing here. So we can explain ourselves. All right, that's our goal. And because teachers know that there's a gray area when it comes to whether it's plagiarized or whether it's paraphrased. And also, even when they use software like Turnitin or Grammarly or whatever, there's still a gray zone because, the computer, the algorithm is not perfect. So having said that, I want to show you the different types of ways that you can try to avoid plagiarism. So there are 4 types that we're going to talk about in this video. The first one is, of course, using synonyms. Now, by itself, this right here is not enough. This is the first step, but if all you do is change, bad for worse or small to little, no, that's probably not going to satisfy the typical teacher. But it's the first step in getting you going. The next 3, changing the syntax, has to do with the order of the words, making one sentence into several sentences, and of course the opposite of that, which is condensing or summarizing. And so those are the ways that we're going to discuss in this video. So let's move forward. Okay, so here's the bullet is going to be in the larger words is going to be the original sentence, and then the stuff with the smaller sentence underneath it that's indented to the right is the paraphrase. So this is an example of synonyms, and so let's just take a look at this. The man loves to play guitar. It's not that amazing. Now here's the paraphrase. The man likes to play guitar. So you can see here that what we're doing here is we are changing out the word loves for likes. Again, this is an example of a synonym. To love something is to like something, and vice versa most of the time. Again, people might not agree with me on that, but that's kind of what we're going here with. Now, here's the thing. Again, this is not considered a paraphrase by many people. Some teachers might be okay with this, some teachers might not. I don't want to get into the point of taking a strong position. But from what I've been able to pull together, many people agree that this is not a paraphrase because all you did was swap out one word for the other. In other words, we still have, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We still have, 6 words, and each time 5 of the 6 words are exactly the same. And then when you switch something, it's just a very, very simple, superficial twist of loves to like. For most people, this is not satisfying, but it's the first step. It's an attempt. And so you take a look at a thesaurus, or of course, if you're using Microsoft Word, there's a built-in thesaurus or a built-in synonym type thing where if you right-click on the word, it'll give you some synonyms. It's a start, but it's really not good enough. You use synonyms in collaboration with the other 3 tips that I'm going to show you to really take a step forward and to develop some paraphrasing. Now, here's a second one. So the first bullet here is our original sentence, the man loves to play guitar. And then you can see here with our second sentence, this is what we had on the previous scheme where we just swapped out these 2 words right here. But notice the last sentence here, the man likes playing guitar. Now this is a little bit more complicated because what's happening is this. We've changed out the word loves for likes. That's what we did right here. So that's a synonym. But now we're also adjusting this infinitive right here, to play. This is our infinitive. And we changed it to playing. Now, this is the present participle for the English majors, I guess. In other words, this is something he likes to do right now, basically. He likes playing guitar. All right? And so this is a next step. Now, is this enough for your teacher? I don't know. When you're writing, you have to consider your audience. Maybe you have to take it a step further. Maybe your teacher would not be satisfied with modifying the sentence in this fashion. We're trying to give you tools, but you have to keep in mind who you're writing for as well. And that's the main key. There's no way to satisfy all people with your writing. That's a general impossibility. All right. Now, we're going to move from synonyms to syntax. So with syntax, we're talking about the order of the words. So traditionally in English, it's subject, verb, object. But there are other ways where you can kind of twist it and modify it. But let's just look at this example and not focus so much on theory. So here is our original sentence. You've seen this before. The man loves to play guitar. Nothing new there. But see what I did to change it around. Playing the guitar is something the man likes. Now, what did I do here? Well, I moved this infinitive phrase to play. I moved it to the front. So I put it up here. That's what I did. So kind of put a 1 here. And I changed it from an infinitive verb, if you will, to present participle, playing. Playing the guitar is something the man likes. Also, notice I removed the word loves and I put likes again. So I had a synonym here. So you can see I'm incorporating already 2 types of skills at the same time. And so this is a much stronger paraphrase. Playing the guitar is something the man likes. And so again, I'm trying to show you the thought process behind it. Now, this is, of course, not the only way to do the syntax here, but this is what I thought as a person who was trying to paraphrase this original sentence. And so when you're looking at this, you can see that I moved the verb to the front and I moved the man, who's pretty much the subject, way down here to the back because he's the one who likes to play the guitar. All right, that's what's happening here. And so by rearranging it, we're starting to get more and more into paraphrasing. And what I mean by paraphrasing, the type of paraphrasing that many people will start to agree is paraphrasing. All right, now moving from syntax, another tool that you can use is you can take the original sentence or sentences or whatever and break it apart into several different sentences. So if you see here in my example here, I have the man loves to play guitar. That's the original sentence. But notice what I do here with the paraphrase here. This man has a hobby, full stop, period. It might be a comma, we'll have to leave that for the comments. He likes playing guitar. So this man has a hobby. All right. So that probably should be a comma maybe, but he likes playing guitar. This man has a hobby. He likes playing guitar. And so you can see that now I went from having 1 sentence to 2. And again, I changed out loves for likes, and I changed out to play for playing again. So you can see how I'm using synonyms and adjusting things so that what I'm doing is clear. And again, this is another example of paraphrasing where you're tweaking the English to try to capture the original idea, but through your own words, in other words. Now, this last tip is condensing or summarizing. And now I need to be careful because when I talk about summarizing, it's a similar continuum to the paraphrase plagiarism thing. So over here, you might have paraphrasing, and then you have your continuum, and then you have summarizing. So many people believe that they're not the same thing, that they're different skills. But for the sake of simplicity, we're just going to say that condensing and summarizing is another type of paraphrasing. So let's look at our sentence here. The man loves to play guitar. All right, no problem there. So, this was already a very simple sentence, and it's kind of challenging. But what we did is we essentially just said he likes guitar. In other words, we don't say what he likes about guitar. If you look at my modification here, we just say he likes guitar. So we removed the fact that he likes to play. And we also changed out the word loves for likes. We could have put something else like enjoy or whatever. But you can see here that we were able to shrink it. We cut the number of words by 50%. But we were able to still encapsulate the main point. The most important thing about this sentence, in my opinion, is that we have a man, that's the subject. We know that he enjoys something, that's basically the verb. And we know what he enjoys, that's the object. And so if you look down here, we capture those things right here in these three words. He, the man, or the subject, likes, the verb, guitar, object. To play is fun, but it just tells you why he loves something. It gives the sentence more description, it makes it clearer, but it's not crucial. You can still be understood without it. Now, what I want to do in this slide is I have some academic examples where I'm trying to apply these skills in a context that is much more complicated. When you're trying to write in an academic style, for a research paper or a thesis, dissertation, or whatever. So on the left, I have the original academic type language, and then on the right, I have the paraphrase. So let me read this to you, the original, and then I'll try to walk you through what I did with the actual paraphrase. So the original. There is also a push within Southeast Asia for college graduates to have interpersonal skills. For example, Malaysia is calling for graduates to have soft skills, and these need to be part of the curriculum of tertiary schools. In addition, a lack of these skills has been found to limit graduates' employability. So that's from a paper. Now, here on the right, I have the paraphrase. But before I get to that, this is a very, very complicated example. First of all, instead of having one simple sentence, we have several sentences, and we have ideas coming from different places. Now, the original text is focused on, the skills college graduates needs. That's what it's about. And it gives an example from Malaysia and how they're demanding something. Now, notice what I do here with the paraphrase. There are several skills graduates need for employability in Southeast Asia. For example, people skills are needed. The ability to relate to others is being pushed for inclusion in higher education from parts of Southeast Asia. So this is my paraphrase. So let me see if I can kind of walk you through this. In this first sentence, it talks about interpersonal skills. I generalize that to several skills, basically. That's what I do. And instead of mentioning, if you look at over here, employability was mentioned at the end. For me, I put that in my first sentence. That's what I was doing there. So I'm moving stuff around and I'm changing the order. Okay? Now, when I talk about, for example, it says people skills. Well, people skills, for me, this is a synonym for interpersonal skills. This is where I'm going. All right? That's why I did that. And then I talk about the ability to relate to others is being pushed for inclusion in higher education. Now, I use the word higher education because this is a synonym for tertiary schools, basically. That's all. From parts of Southeast Asia. Now, when I'm talking about from parts of Southeast Asia, I'm referring indirectly to Malaysia, which is a part of Southeast Asia. Now, again, if a teacher were to accuse me of plagiarism, I can sit down with them and I can walk them through my thought process of how I did this. Now, whether I convince them or not, who knows? It depends on the teacher. It depends on, what board or whatever board I would have to defend myself before. However, there's a clear thought process in how I went from what's on the left of the screen to what I went to on the right of the screen. And what is often missing with students when they are plagiarizing is, and I'm going to write this down because this is important, the thought process. In other words, they have no explanation for how they wrote something they wrote. And this is where you get no mercy. And so you have to make sure that you are able to explain what you were trying to do with the language if you are ever in a position of being accused of plagiarism. Let's do one more example. Now, the stuff to the left, I've already read that, and you've seen that before. Let me show you what I did on the right here. So, there is demand in Southeast Asia for higher education to develop the interpersonal skills of their students, as this is limiting the employability of graduates. So this time, I was able to reduce the ideals on the left into one sentence. And I cover all the main things. I cover Southeast Asia. I talk about higher education instead of colleges. So I'm using synonyms here. I talk about interpersonal skills, so I took that word for word there. Okay? Instead of using the word graduates, I use students. And then I use the word limiting right here instead of limit. And then, of course, I just repeat the word employability, and I also put graduates. But I never mention anything about Malaysia this time. I just say there's demand in Southeast Asia. I don't even say parts of Southeast Asia. I just say the whole thing. So again, there is a thought process behind how I was able to shape this. And so again, I can explain myself if there's ever any kind of questions about what I was trying to do. And remember, the most important thing when trying to paraphrase is to try to paraphrase. That's the most important thing, and to be cognizant, to be aware of what you were trying to do when you tried to change the language. No thought process is almost tantamount to being guilty. And this is the trap that many ESL students fall into. They look at the language, they say, well, this is so beautiful right here. This is so perfect. How can I possibly make this any better? What can I do to improve this? Well, I mean, you could make it shorter. You could put it in your own words. You can put in some synonyms. I mean, you can move around the syntax. Those are some things you can do. And it's not about improving the sentence. It's not about improving the paragraph or the English. It is about putting it in your own words. If you put it in your own words, that is an improvement to the teacher because it is your thought and not just someone else's thought that you repeat it. And that's something very, very important that ESL students need to understand. So, I hope that what we talked about here in this video was useful. What you need to remember is basically the 4 ways of addressing paraphrasing. Remember the use of synonyms. Remember the use of syntax, changing the syntax. Remember the use of several different words, and also keep in mind the ideal of condensing or summarizing what you're talking about. You have to keep in mind that the difference between plagiarism and paraphrasing is a continuum. And you want to be as close to paraphrasing as possible. However, if you're struggling, if you're in that gray zone, if you are able to explain the thought process behind how you were trying to put the text in your own words, the teacher can help you to finish it off so that they are satisfied with what you were trying to say. So, my name is Darren Thomas. I'm the Director of Educational Research Techniques. Take care.